Hey, Kevin here from DIYDork.com. Today I want to show you how I transformed this really junky dresser I found on CraigsList into a really cool low coffee table or entryway bench, whatever you want to use it for. Turned out really awesome. It was a simple project, so let me show you how I made it. Alright, so here is the dresser that I'm going to convert to a coffee table. And it looked like it was in decent shape when I found it on Craigslist. I think I paid 40 bucks. Bought it from some people that are moving out of an apartment. It's actually from China. Let's see if I can find it's all like Chinese writing and stuff. So it almost looks like I don't know if China had an IKEA store or something like that. Kind of an unusual thing. So anyway, I thought it was kind of cool with the handles and the feet and all that, so I thought it'd be a quick flip. Well, once we brought it home, we realized why it was so cheap. This thing's really busted up, and the drawers were messed up. So we tried to buy some sliders to fit, and of course the sliders were too wide, and we couldn't repair it. So we're trying to figure out how to salvage our money. So what we're going to do is chop this thing down, basically just lower it, turn it into a coffee table. So I'll get rid of all these dark colored drawers. I think I'm gonna go ahead keep this top one here. It's pretty cool. It's lined with felt and seems like an interesting feature to have on a coffee table for remotes and like phone chargers and things like that. So I guess I'll get to it. I'll show you how I'm gonna take it apart, chop it down, redo it. Alright, so I took the drawers out so you can kind of see what's going on here. It had these metal sliding things here and they were kind of messed up, so I tried adding a new one here. You can see the lines I drew, and like I said, it's too wide, didn't fit. So decided that I can take the bottom off. It'll totally separate here underneath. It has some screws, so I'll undo it. The bottom will just drop right off, and then the side panels here, we'll just basically pull them off while they're still attached to the top. I'll even keep the drawer on there, and then this little thin back panel will slide out too. Then all I got to do is just measure up, cut wherever I want it, and we'll just drop the whole thing down. So I'll start working on that next. Alright, so now I got flipped over. It had a couple of screws under here. I undid those. It should pop out. And it looks like it just has little pegs in here, so I'll actually be able to reuse those to hold everything together. So let me pop the other side out here. Alright, there we go. This thing should come apart real easy now. Alright, so now that the bottom's off, I'm going to do a couple of measurements. So from the floor to the top of the bottom there is 4 inches, and I want the coffee table to be 18 inches tall. So what I'm doing is measuring from the top surface up 14 inches, and then I drew that line on both sides. So now let's take it outside, cut with the saw, and it should be the perfect height. Alright, so now that I cut that piece off, I can tell it's kind of like I thought this thing would be built. It's kind of like a cheap interior door. It's hollow with just a couple little solid pieces in there. And as you can see, what I need right here, there's a divot missing, and we're going to be putting those wood plugs and some screws in there, so I need something solid. So I think if I tear off these sides, I can get to that solid piece in there, and it should fit exactly in here. So that's what I'll do next. There we go. Should be a good piece to drop in there. Alright, so before I pop this thing in there, what I decided to do was rough it up a little bit so that when I glue it in, glue will have something to hold on to. So this is kind of the cheater's way of doing it, but I'm just taking a screwdriver and I'm scratching it really deep, leaving some ruts in there. I'll go ahead and do them like X's. And then I'll also do that to the inside of the piece where I'm going to glue it, and then it'll actually have something to hold on to. So I'll finish this out and then I'll glue them in. Alright, so got that piece roughed up, got the inside roughed up. It's probably not the right way to do it, but it does work. So now I'm going to drop some glue in there and then smack this thing into place. So make sure there's plenty in there to hold. And I may even go ahead and add a screw or two just to make sure that they're in position. Alright, put that piece in there, and I'll probably have to hammer it in since it's a tight fit. Let's see if I can even get started here. There we go. Alright, now it sticks out a little bit, that's okay. I'll just wait for this to dry and I'll take my saw and just cut it flush to the original cut that I made earlier. Alright, so now that little piece is dry, I need to cut about 1/4 inch off of here. So what I did is I took my saw and I measured from the blade over to the edge here, and I did that with the clamp here marked on there, and now I have a nice little fence to run against. So let me cut that real quick, and it should be a nice flush cut. Alright, check that out. Perfectly flush. It's just like it was from the factory. Now I just got to do this same thing down here, cut that one the same way, be ready to start attaching it. Alright, now that I got my legs chopped down, I brought it back inside, and I need to make a cover for the back so that you don't see the back of the drawer mechanism. So I have this old piece of wood here. I think it's an old shelving unit or something from IKEA. I bought a bunch of scraps at IKEA one time, so I'm going to use it to mount in there just like that, right along the little cutout here where that back panel used to slide in. So I have it mounted there, I'm covered up, so I need to make somehow a way to attach this. So what I decided to do is I cut these little sticks here 3/4 by 3/4, and I'm going to glue and nail them right in along that line. I'll put a couple on the side. Then that way, when I install this, I can glue and then nail it to those. So that's what I'll do next. Alright, now those brackets are on, so now I can glue and nail that little front piece on. So this is pretty simple. Pop that on, slide this in place, make sure it looks good and even. Pop a few nails in here too. Alright, and there we go. Now I'll just let this totally dry, and then start working on body work and paint. Okay, one more thing I got to do that I forgot about before I move on to the body work and paint is I need to be able to fit the top down to the base. Now if you remember earlier when I tore it apart, it had little pegs in it, so that's what these big holes are for. So I'm actually just going to reuse those holes for new pegs. So I have a little kit here with, I don't remember what size pegs these are. What you do is it comes with a drill bit like this with an adjustable piece. So what I did is I set it for half the depth of this little peg here. Alright, so then you drill it in. And it's going to be a little difficult because I'm using the old holes, but you'll see here in a second. Alright, made a little bit of a mess there. But then these pegs will slide in there. You're going to hammer them in so they're going to be nice and tight. But to be able to transfer that hole to the top piece, it also comes with these little things. These little pieces here with a little metal point to them. And you shove those in there, and then I'm able to set the other piece down, and when it presses, that little point will leave a hole exactly where I can use this little drill bit to drill a hole in the upper piece, and then my pegs should be able to line up. So I'll show you how that works. Alright, so you can just see both of my little metal pieces in there, so I'm going to line up my top to where I want it to sit. About there would be good. And I'll just pound on it just a little bit to get those little metal spikes to poke through this upper piece. Alright, and then check it out. When I flipped it over, you can just see that little hole there. So now I just take the pointy end of the drill bit here, and I'll just go all the way to the collar here. It goes all the way down. Clean up my mess a little bit. Now this peg, again, it'll be tight, but it should go right in, and then it'll line up to the other one once I flip this thing back upside down. Alright, so now to do the other side, I went ahead and I threw the pegs in there, and when we flip it over, we'll line up these holes to those pegs, and then I put the little metal things over there so that I can put the little, pierce little holes into that piece to drill it out, and then it should all line up. So I'll get this all ready for you. Alright, I brought the top and the bottom outside to get ready to do body work, and I've been lightly sanding the laminate just to give it a little tooth so that the primer and the paint will have something to stick to. And also smoothing out some of the rough areas that I'll have to go over with some Bondo. Also, it has old screw holes from the old drawer metal brackets that I'm filling in with Bondo, and then also the bottom piece here, there was a channel, as well as the back here. There's a little channel that I'm gonna fill in with Bondo just to smooth that out. And then also the little nail holes from this back panel I put on. So I'm gonna fill all those with Bondo, smooth it out, and get this thing ready to start priming. One more thing I'm doing is I'm sanding the feet that go on the bottom of the coffee table and the handles down to raw wood. I think the lighter colored wood with just a little bit of oil on it will look a lot fresher and updated than this kind of dark brown. So get them finished and then I can start priming this thing. Alright, all my body work is finished and sanded smooth, so now I'm priming. And since this table has laminate, I'm going to spray prime. And I found that spray prime will stick to it a lot better and won't peel off like regular, brush on or roll on paint. So I'm gonna coat everything with some of the spray on primer, and then I'll make sure it's all smoothed out and I can start painting it later. Alright, so now that the primer's dry, I'm just putting on a little dark gray paint. I decided to paint the body dark gray and then put a couple of lighter gray details on it. And then of course the raw wood handles and feet I think will look pretty good. So anyway, I'll get this painted and then I can put it together and this thing will be done. Alright, check it out. Got it all painted dark gray, and then the front of the drawer I did a really light gray. And then that panel I built on the back, I did the same thing, so it kind of matches. So now I'm going to put together, real simple. I just put the pegs in the holes with a little bit of wood glue. I'll put a little more glue on them. I'll drop this on, and then I just got to screw the legs back on and put the handle on the drawer, and I'll show you what it looks like all finished. Alright, and here's the table all finished. Turned out really cool. I like the light colored wood with the two tones of gray. If you notice, the paint has a texture to it, and that's because when I was rolling it, it looked a little thin, so I ended up painting it just real sloppy in every direction to give it a cool kind of brush strokey texture everywhere. And also the drawer, I don't remember if I showed this to you or not, but it's lined with felt and it has these dividers. And luckily that drawer was still good, so we decided to keep it. And I'll show you real quick the back. I just painted the panel to match, so it kind of looks the same on both sides. Turned out really nice. Very, very simple project and a nice way to keep that dresser from just going straight in the trash.